I had a chance to play in a lot of the different clubs. I mean, a lot of the clubs that we played back then are gone, like the Dragonfly, but we did get a chance to play one that many people know. I've got my Steelers bear that somebody gave me for Christmas one year, and it's all real Steelers fans have. I've got the terrible towel. That's the thing that we all, as Steelers fans, wave around when the Steelers are scoring touchdowns and first downs. Hey, I'm Matt Zavadil, and I'm passionate about helping network and affiliate marketers improve their leadership and marketing skills so you can build your MLM and online businesses bigger. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be the first in a series of videos I'm calling 4 Interesting Things About. And for this first installment, I'm giving you what I consider to be 4 interesting things about me personally. So I'm hoping that it allows you to get to know me better. And stay until the end because I think you'll be shocked by how I looked back in the 90s. The first interesting thing about me is I grew up in upstate New York, and at the age of 19, I moved from New York up to Canada near Toronto in a little town called Hamilton to go to a recording school. And being 19 at the time, back in the States, to go to bars and things like that, I had to be 21. But when I got up to the school, the very first day of class, I met this guy named Alex, and he ended up becoming my best friend for the 6 months that I was up there going to the school. After the first class was over, he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to the bars and hang out?" I'm like, "I'm only 19. He's like, "Oh, but in Canada, you can go." And so that was fun. The whole experience was just great up there. I loved living in Canada. Had an interesting experience where I was driving from the place where I was staying over to hang out with Alex and some of his friends one night. And I remember it was snowing because I was up there during the winter time. And I'm driving my car down the street and got stopped by the cops. And I am convinced it was because I had really long hair and they were checking out, what is this guy with the long hair doing? And I wanted to look in my car a little bit and see if I had anything in there, right? But that just wasn't me. So I had no issues and they let me go. But that was an interesting one. Another time, me and Alex went up to Toronto to hang out and got my car towed, which we weren't paying attention to the signs. And that was interesting. But overall, it was just a great experience. And then I moved back home after those 6 months and lived back in New York for another couple of years until I eventually made it out to California. And I'll tell you my California story in just a bit, how I got here. By the way, I'd be honored if you subscribe to my channel. This is not a training video, but 99.9% of my videos are training on how to get more leads and how to be a better leader inside your business. So if you want that kind of content going forward, you don't want to miss any of them, just subscribe and you'll make sure you get all that stuff going forward. Now, the second interesting thing about me is I'm a huge Steelers fan, which people find interesting when they know me a little bit because they're like, "You grew up in New York. How are you a Steelers fan?" And it is kind of funny because I grew up where all my friends were either Giants, Bills, or Jets fans. But I got into football, the NFL, back when I was about 9 years old, and it was just kind of coming out of the 70s when, of course, they had won their 4 Super Bowls. And I probably just heard the name Steelers over and over and over again as a kid. I grabbed onto them and loved them ever since. And like all Steelers fans, I've got all the stuff, right? Like I got my hats. And here's another hat that I have for one of their championship things. I've got my Steelers bear that somebody gave me for Christmas one year. And as all real Steelers fans have, I've got the terrible towel, right? And that's the thing that we all, as Steelers fans, wave around when the Steelers are scoring touchdowns and first downs. And I guess the last thing I'll show you here is I've got my nice Steelers blanket with a whole football field on it and things of that nature. And that keeps me nice and warm on a cold December's day when I'm watching the Steelers play football. Now, another interesting thing about my whole Steelers football fandom thing is that when I met my wife back in the late 90s, of course, she was my girlfriend at the time. And one of the things that she was shocked to learn about me was when she would say things like, "Hey, it's on a Sunday. Let's go here or there. Let's, go to the supermarket or something." And I would say, "Oh, no, we don't go anywhere on Sundays. On Sundays, I'd get up and being in California by that point, the games would begin at 10 a.m. our time. I'm like by 9:30, I'm watching the pregame and then I watch 3 football games from morning to night." And that was kind of shocking to her. She had to learn that about me. But I will say this, that over the years, as I've gotten older, that's no longer a priority in my life. And I'm kind of ashamed of how I made that a priority back when I was going from my teens into my 20s. Definitely not the way to live. I idolized football players of all things, right? Which I think we shouldn't be doing. And now as a born again believer, obviously there's much more important things to be doing on a Sunday. Anyway, actually, I'll put it in the pinned comment and in the description of this video. There's another video I made talking about how there was an experience I had as a teenager where I really became a loner and started to feel like I didn't need other people. And I let that affect how I looked at relationships. And I let things like football and other things like that were very selfishly me get in the way of relationships, and how I, as I got older, I turned that around and saw the silliness of that. But I know there are people to this day that get so caught up in having to watch every single football game on Sunday, watching the Monday night, the Thursday night, the Saturdays when they come up. Now there's Friday games here and there. Next, and I'll take off the hat now since we're not talking about Steelers anymore. The third thing is I used to hate cooking. And I bring that up because my mom loved to cook. My brother, as he was growing up, got interested in cooking, learned from her. Now he cooks really, really well. And thankfully, my wife is an absolutely excellent cook. But when she met me, she was shocked. All I would basically eat back when I met her were things like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they were easy to make, crackers and cheese, eggs, toast with jelly maybe, or maybe I would splurge back then on putting some jelly on a Thomas English muffin or something like that, and cereal, and I could boil some water or make spaghetti, right? That's about what I lived on when I was by myself. Over the years, though, talking about relationships, as I met her and watched her cook for the first few years of our relationship, thankfully she knows how to cook because she makes some really amazing things. But I started to realize that I could use her cooking time to further our relationship. And so now I'm a pretty good sous chef. And I'm not a good cook at all, but I've learned how to throw things in the crock pot and make chicken in the crock pot, throw that into the refrigerator and have something to eat for the next few days. But now as she's cooking, I've become her sous chef and really have come to enjoy it. And the reason I enjoy it is because it really has become our talking time where we're spending time together as I'm helping her cut things and put the, grade cheese or whatever I'm doing for her. We're talking and it just furthers our relationship. It's become a really, really cool thing. And so then the fourth interesting thing about me is that at the age of 22, I moved from New York to Hollywood, California with my brother. My brother and I, when I got back from Canada, he and I were playing in bands around the area there where we lived. I play guitar, he plays bass. And then we decided to further our goals of, making it in music to go to Hollywood and go to a school called Musicians Institute right there in Hollywood. And we went there that first year, went to the school, and that's really where I became very good on the guitar because I had a full year just to play basically guitar full time, which is great. I had an opportunity to meet a lot of great people out there in Hollywood. I actually had a chance to take guitar lessons from the guitarist who was in a band most people would not know at all called Hurricane Alice. But growing up, it was one of the bands that I absolutely loved as I was listening to them on top of all the bands everybody knows, like, Van Halen and Metallica and Motley Crue and Rat and Dokken and all those bands of the 80s moving into the 90s that I grew up on. But it was really cool to take lessons from someone like that, someone I'd been listening to on records and so forth. And then when I got out of the school, I started to get in bands. And from like the early-ish to mid-90s to the late 90s, I played in bands throughout the Hollywood area. I had a chance to play in a lot of the different clubs. I mean, a lot of the clubs that we played back then are gone, like the Dragonfly. But we did get a chance to play one that many people know that's right across, pretty much across from the Whiskey on Sunset Boulevard, the Viper Room. And so we just had a great time playing music. And that's about the time when I met my wife. The interesting thing was back then I had really long hair. I had hair, down to here. I had a nose ring, I had earrings, all that kind of stuff. Used to wear the leather jackets and all that heavy metal stuff. Just had a really good time. It was a fun time before most of us were on the internet. None of us had cell phones. It was just more of an organic time in life. And I just had a great time doing all that stuff. So those are 4 interesting things about me. I hope you found them fun and interesting to find out. And please know that the next video of this series, I'm going to discuss 4 interesting things about the network marketing industry specifically. And by the way, if you enjoyed this message, subscribe to the channel. I'd love if you would do that. It'll make sure that you get every video that comes out next. And like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it with anybody you think might enjoy it. Comment if you have any comments about some of the things you've seen on this video about me. And lastly, I've got 2 parting gifts for you, depending on what type of business that you are building. If you're a network marketer and you need some marketing help, grab our free digital recruiting bootcamp series. I put that down in the pinned comment and description for you. It'll teach you how to use social media to attract new customers and team members every week. And if you're an affiliate marketer specifically, grab the affiliate marketing bootcamp that I put down in the pinned comment and description. It'll help you build out a solid online business with the correct marketing and mindset training for that type of business. All right, so that's it for now. Signing off.